You know how some people have a holier-than-thou attitude in life?
Yes.
As in, they like a lot of holes? Right. Well, to this guy, it really did mean a lot. Take a look.
It is estimated that 83% of Americans have pierced ears. 14% have piercings in places other than their ears. But only one man has pierced himself with over 4,550 surgical needles in one sitting. That's right, Matthew Menczyk just shattered the previous world record by an impressive 650 needles. Matthew endured the 8 hours of grueling pain to raise money for a Canadian youth charity. And in case you were thinking of trying to beat the record yourself, you should know Matthew is already planning to do that himself.
And joining us by phone from Canada is the record setter Matthew and his body piercer Russ. And I'm in pain just looking at the images. How do you get ready for something like that, Matthew?
What I did to prepare for it is I had cold showers about 10 minutes a day. Up north in Canada, we could jump in lakes, so jumping in cold lakes kind of prevent my body from going into shock.
Oh, my goodness.
This guy likes pain, I guess.
This was for a really good cause. I personally would not do this.
Do you have any piercings?
I do not, because
I'm just wondering, Travis, you might have had a little...
They say 80-something% have a piercing. Maybe we should get with the program, Travis, and get a little ear piercing, if nothing else.
Go on a piercing date? Well, I do have to ask Russ this. Russ, you obviously are a professional. You do this for a living. The sheer number of needles that you're putting in Matthew's body, I'm imagining even for you, I'm just looking at that and thinking of not only all the scarring, but how careful you had to be keeping everything so sterile.
Well, it wasn't really a matter of keeping things sterile. All the needles, they're pre-sterilized hypodermic needles, and I just used aseptic technique to install them. And
Matthew, I have to ask you afterwards, did you have any problems with infection, or did you have any situations afterwards that, you know, would have made you say, maybe I shouldn't have done this?
Absolutely not. I think just keeping it clean, minimal scarring, that's about it.
So, Matthew, how long did you leave these needles in?
I think it was just for the 8 hours, and then we took them out.
Wow.
Right after.
Well, Matthew, you were quite a brave gentleman, and this was all for a great cause. And I have to tell the audience, you know, anyone who's thinking about getting a piercing, you do want to make sure you go to a trained professional for something like this. You want to make sure, too, after you get a piercing, keep in mind that this is an open area into your skin. So what you don't want to go out and get meet someone and hook up and end up with an infected piercing. Because I think what happens with piercings is we get them, we think they're sexy and cute, and you forget that these things can cause major infection.
Yeah, so
if I get a piercing,
know what you're doing, up to
20%.
Up to 20% of piercings can lead to infection, and if it leads to infection, then it can lead to, we talked about before on the score, scarring. So you need to know what you're doing if you go that route. Clearly, Russ and Matthew, you know, they knew what they were doing. They set a record. Made money for a good cause. We're just happy that it all went well. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you break the skin.
But we would never recommend doing that. I mean, we're not condoning that at all. In fact, that's
well, and people are going to get piercings, but make sure you do it the right way.
Absolutely.